In today's video, I'm going to show you how fast you can be up and running if you have no show file or nothing. The only thing you have is the local patch, and you just need to get something going really fast. So let's just get right into it. As you can see over here on my screen, I have a small show. I just patched a few fixtures. We can go in and have a look in the patch. You can see I have some Viber XIPs, I have some Aura XBs, I have some Megapoints, and I have some rocks fixtures here. And this is my only thing. This is the only thing I've done. If you look at my fixture and presets here, you can see I have no presets, no colors, nothing. And we want to get up and running really fast. This could be if you're doing like a corporate gig or something. You have no show file. You just want to make it work really fast. So what we do is we go into our backup. We go into load, and up here you can see the tab called shows. And these shows are my local shows, my local stored files. But if I click it, I get into backup shows. I click it again, I get into demo shows. When I'm in the demo show, you can see this one up here called the MA start show. And the MA start show is a pre-built busking show file, and the only thing you need to do is put your own fixtures into it, and then you will be up and running really fast. Before we load the show, I just want to show you in the patch here, I have patched everything here. You can see my 3D positions, you can see my rig here, if I could move this to the side. And I exported this out of MA3 as an MVR file. And the cool thing about exporting MVR files out of MA3 is that it knows the fixture profiles. You don't have to replace the fixture profiles, the dummy profiles, if you are importing files from WYSIWYG, Vectorworks, or any of the other ones. You will have to replace the fixture profiles with fixture profiles that GrandMA3 knows. But if you export it out of GrandMA3, you will usually get all the fixture profiles with you, with a few exceptions. So let's just try that. We say export MVR, and as you can see, I did some MVR exporting here, trying this out, but we could just do a version 3 of this one, and we can just say export into our internal hard disk here. So now it's exporting the MVR file, which contains my patch, my fixtures, fixture numbers, and all this stuff. So we close this one, we go into backup, we load, and we go up into our demo shows here, MA start show, and I simply just load the MA start show. I just want to check everything here to make sure that I reset everything. I don't want to save this, and then you can see this is the MA start show. And just a quick tour of the MA start show is that you have the option of positioning here. You can see I have some groups here, MA start show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up through to 8. And we'll get into that in a second, how that works. And you can see this is our positions. You can choose a position here. You can, for one group, you can choose another position for another group. You can set some timing up here on how it should fade and how it should behave in different scenarios. You have the same for color. You have the same for Gobo, dimmer phaser, position phaser, color phaser, and all kinds of other stuff, which we will get into in a second. But right now, the show is empty. If I go into my patch here, you can see there's nothing in these groups. They are completely empty. So right now, this is just an empty shell where we can put in our own stuff. So let's do that right now. We can say import MVR, and we just exported this version 3. We can say import, and it's just going to start putting everything into our system here. Once everything is in, depending on how you import stuff, you could get trusses and set pieces and stuff like that. And here you can simply choose if it should import them or not. I have other videos covering that as well on this channel. But if I am happy and content with whatever it's going to try to import, I can say import MVR. And once it's done, you can now see the patch we had from the previous show file is now imported straight into our MA start show file. And as you can see up here, we had MA start show 1. As I showed you before, that's like the first row of fixtures. We can rename this to Mac Viber, for instance, and we can take all our Mac Vibers, select them, cut them, open up here, and we can simply paste them into this group here. Now it asks me if it wants to keep its absolute position like it is. If I were to move the group up and down or left to right, it could offset if I chose the relative position here, but I want the absolute position, and it's going to ask me that every time I move something into a group. So I just say absolute. I close the Viber group here. We can say the Aura ones here, we can cut it. We can say Mac Aura for this group here, and we can open it up and paste it in. And it asks me the absolute thing again. We can say the mega points, which is what I have standing on the floor. We can cut those guys. We can say mega point like this, and we can paste them into this fixture group here. Last one, we can take our rocks fixtures here. We can say cut. We can go up and say rocks. We can open the group up and we can paste that in here. So as you can see, I have these 8 groups, but I don't need 8 groups, so it doesn't really matter. I can just leave them as is, and everything should work fine. So now I'm done. I can close this guy here. I can save and exit. And as you can see here, I know it's kind of hard to see on this screen here. Now, because I renamed the groups inside the MA Start Show file, I have my Viber, Aura, Megapoint, and Rocks group here. But it doesn't work yet. We still need to do a lot of work to make everything work in the show file as intended. So what we can do here is the Start Show content update. And you can see here I have a lot of groups here. I have a grid group, a linear group, an even, an odd, and some thirds of the different fixtures. So we need now to select our fixtures and put them into the correct groups. So the first thing we can do here is, because we have everything patched into fixture groups, we can actually choose the fixture groups by clicking this button up here. Now I chose a fixture group, and if I go into my selection grid, you can see it's selected one group of fixtures, which is the entire group. But I don't want to store the entire group into my other groups. I want to make sure that the content of the groups are stored into the correct groups. So what I can say here is down, and then it's going to open up whatever is inside the group. That I can store into my linear group. From my group 1, you can see group 1 is all the way down here, group 2 all the way down here. So I want to store this into my linear group like this and say merge, and this is the first one stored into it. Now we want to put it into the selection grid. So we go into our 3D, and I will always select the 2D front, or any 2D, because that's going to keep everything aligned perfectly. We can go back to the Start Show content update, and we can store this into our grid group like this. We say store here, and we say merge. So now we have something stored into the grid group, which is based on the selection grid, and we have a linear selection stored into the linear group. And that is quite important you do this correctly. Otherwise, your your phaser effects might run a little weird. So if you do this the proper way, everything is going to work. And I'm going to show you how it can help you choose symmetrical effects and stuff like that, and using wings of 2 and all this stuff we know from other things. When we have updated our 2 main groups, we want to update our odd and even groups as well, because there's a lot of built-in phasers and stuff like that that depends on these group, and we have like this LOS engine that can help you do busking stuff as well. So it's quite important that you update these groups with the correct content. Otherwise, some of the stuff in the show file might not function the way you want it to. So we take our linear group here, and we have our selection grid. We can actually just click this one up here, and it will select the odd fixtures. If you want to make sure that it looks correct, you can go into the 3D and you can do it yourself, because you can see here the group is not symmetrical. If you want it symmetrical, you can always just do it yourself. Just tap through all your fixtures and store them the way you want. In this case, we're just going to do it the fast way and ignore the fact that they are not symmetrical. So if we go back to our content update here, we have selected our evens. We can say store even and merge, and we can select the odds and store into odd and merge that as well. Let's clear that and do the same thing for our third groups here. Let's take this one. This is the first third of our fixtures. This is the second. And once again, this is not symmetrical. So if you want to make sure that it looks the way you want to, you have to manually update them yourselves. So this is the first fixture type. We are ready with the grouping. I will just speed up the video here while I do the grouping for the auras, the megapoints and the roxes. It works in the exact same way, so you can do that and maybe pause the video while you're doing it. So now I updated all the groupings that I want, and again, make sure that you adjust for odds and evens the way you want it. You can always do it manually. Tap through all your fixtures and make sure that your odd and even groups are the way you want it to. And the same with the thirds here. So now we need to go in and do some other content update, because the show file will help you with a lot of things, and there's a few things it needs help accomplishing. So let's go into our content update here again, and you can see down here we have some colors. It will do the colors itself. We have some positions. It will do most of the position itself, depending on if you rotated the fixtures the right way and it knows which way is forward. You can always rotate your fixtures in the patch if it doesn't work the first time. We have some Gobos in here, and we need to put in the Gobos manually. So let's select our Vibers. This is the first one here. We go into Gobo. We can just go into our shake or rotation or whichever one you want to select. In this case, we're just going to do it very quick. So we select the first one here, and we store the open one. Let's select another Gobo and store that in the next slot. Let's take the next one. Oops. Store that here. And then just do one more, just because we want to, like this. So now you can update the Gobos here, as many Gobos as there is room for and as you need in your show. We have the same thing with Prism. We're not going to do the Prism here, but of course you can always enter the Prism as well. And we have some rotation presets here. If you want to work with Gobo rotation, you can do that as well. And then we have some zoom options for focus and all this stuff. Let's just do the iris down here as well. For the first group, we can select our beam, and we should have some iris here, say closed. We can store that into the iris small, and we can open it back up and store that into iris open. And you can put in as much information here as you want to. You can do your shutters down here as well if you have some strobe going on. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to show you how this works. So now we have our position wizard up here. We have some other stuff we need to play with. If you don't remember what you need to do, you actually have a manual up here. If you click that one, it will tell you step by step. I think it's something like 10 steps how you can do everything. And you can see go to patch and patch the fixtures. We did that. We can click it again. Fill in the groups like we just did with all the odds and evens and all this stuff here. Next time we click, fill the additional groups, linear, odd and even. Next one, press macro to create basic position presets. So let's do that now. This is our position wizard. And right now, none of the fixtures know anything about positioning. But if we click this guy here, you can, I'm just going to show you here, it's going to generate positioning and all kinds of stuff here. So when I press this one and say yes, you can see it fills in positions for all the fixtures we patched. It goes through a lot of different things. And this is one of the other things that the MA Start Show can help you with. If you want to know how this is done, you can right-click a macro and you can see everything that MA has built for us, everything that's been going on. So the MA Start Show is good for creating a show really fast, but it's also very good for analyzing stuff and figuring out how they built this stuff and how you can develop your own programming skills if you want to. So there's a ton of information in here you can use. But now we did the position wizard, and that means if we open up a small 3D here, I know we don't have a lot of room, but let's just see what we did. We have this this file up here, and I can just go in and I can do that here in the content update. Just store this view here so we can recall it. if we go into our full here, we actually have these faders up here. And we did update our groups, or we did store our groups, and this means that this actually works now. So if I go in and open a 3D viewer in here as well, we can store this one as well so we can see it every time. If I take this one up, it will actually take up some of the fixtures here. And you can see they're already in a position, because earlier I actually played with these positions here. So you can see now all these positions we're looking at now is something the MA Start Show generated on its own. And we can use these or we can update these. That's all up to you, how you want to work and how you want it to look. So this is our Vipers. We can say our auras here as well. You can see they also have some position information stored right into them. And the last one is our mega points. And because they're standing on the floor, they might be a little odd, but they're actually not. They look quite cool. This is all auto-generated. And now you're actually ready to start making a show if you want to. We did all the updating we wanted to, which means that we can now turn on all the fixtures we want. We can say all our Vipers need to go down on the floor as well. If we change the resolution for this, we might be able to see it a little bit better. I know it's very small, but we have to fit everything into the same screen here. So you can see if I now choose my color library, you can see I have all my Mac Vipers here. If I click the blue one, all the Vipers turn blue. If I click the white one, they go back to white. If I want to play with my auras, the second row, I can put them into red, I can put them into blue, I can do whatever I want. And the same thing for our mega points on the floor. You can see I can put them into any color here, and I should be able to do the same with my Roxes here as well. Put them into blue because they are color blinders. So this is just the starting point. We now have position information and we have color information for our different fixture types. And you can see here, if I want to change something, we have our Vipers. I know it's a little bit hard to see. Our Vipers, auras, mega points and Roxes, and we can simply just start playing around with positioning and all kinds of stuff. If this is too fast for you, you can say I want it to fade in 3 seconds maybe, and I can put them down and they will fade down. We can always also give it a wing. If we give it a wing of 2 and put it back up, it will also do that stuff. If we turn off the fade, we can actually see what's going on. There we go. Delay. We can delay it from let's say we delay it for 2 seconds and we give it a new position, and you can see it will delay everything here. You can see all that stuff. We can do it with the mega points as well if we want to. So this is all built in. We didn't do anything. This is a complete show file that can do all kinds of stuff. But we have only just begun, because we have our position library, and you can see the start show here is just pre-built. So they fill in some contents which they think we like. We can always, if we don't want to look at Gobo, we can change this layout to dimmer phaser, for instance. We can change this layout up here to, let's take something else, position phasers, like this maybe. So now we have some dimmer phasers down here and some position phasers up here. And we still have the same rows, our Vipers, auras, mega points and Roxes. So let's say we are in the position directory here, and you can see we can select our grid group or we can select our linear group. That is the symbols for those. That depends on how you want your effects to look. So if we select our grid group, we can say we want to make a circle. We want to have it with a wing of 2, and we can simply just turn on the effects here, and it's going to start circling all our Mac Vipers. We can do the same for the mega points on the floor, like this. And as you can see here, I know it's hard to see, but they are actually symmetrical based on a wing of 2, which is because we are using our selection grid to do this. And again, if we look at the Mac Vipers up here, they're also symmetrical because they are based on our selection grid. We have the same down here with with dimmer. If we want to have a normal sinus, effect, we can just turn this one on. Maybe it's better to do it with the mega points, and you can see it starts running. On your real console, if you look in the or in this one, I can actually just show the row 3 and 400 here. We have a beat master here. If we want to double tap that one, I can't double tap it here. So let's just turn this effect off again, and then we can say we don't want the dimmer, we want the position. We just did that. We have a color phaser as well. Let's take our mega points here and say we want it to have a color from blue to white, for instance, and we want to give it a wing of a delay of 1 here, and maybe a what do we have here? Some different stuff, some fade, some off time, some delay, and we can invert it. So let's say we have from blue to white. We can go in and take our mega points, turn this one on, and you can see there's an effect starting to run now. Let's also give this a wing of 2 to make it go towards the center or the other way. You can adjust all kinds of different things up here, and I just encourage you to play with it and see how it works for you. But this is a complete busking show file, and we spent how many minutes to prepare this. So if you are just flying into something, you need to have something going really quick. This is an amazing tool MA built for us, and with every update there is new things going on. The next thing I want to show you is the LOS engine. If we just turn this stuff off again here, and we maybe give all our fixtures some sort of different colors here, so we can see how this works. Let's give those guys a red one as well. So now we can see we have some fixtures going on here. We can open this one, LOS, the live output system, and the live output system is basically another way where we can use this for busking. So let's just open our 3D viewer and maybe store that into this view here just temporarily. You can see this. If I push a button, I might want it to do something specific. And what I could do, say I want it to be at full. I want the Gobo to be open if we had any Gobos in. I want the iris to be open if we are using narrow beam. I want it to strobe. We didn't store any strobe, so that's not going to work right now. We want to zoom it out to big or to small. We can do that if we updated the zoom presets in the content updater. We want it to go up in the air, and we can adjust some of the timing here. And maybe we want it to go into white as well. But to make this work, we need to open an extra playback window with our X keys, because all these buttons are placed here on your X keys. If you have a full size or a GrandMA3 Lite, you will have this next to your small screens here. And also if you have the other versions of the GrandMA3, you still have the X keys but no screen. But let's just open up to see what's happening. We go in and open an extra window here, and we can search for X keys right here. And you can see they put some buttons here you can push for your busking show. We chose this first one here. This first is, you have to think of this entire window as 2 different sections with separate buttons. So everything we put in here will be affected on these top buttons here. Everything we do down here will be affected on the bottom buttons here. So we chose a lot of different things here for our first layer here, the first row. And the only thing we need to do now is to choose which fixtures we need to include in this section here. If I, for instance, take all my, I think my mega points is group number 3, and I push a button here, you can see my mega points every time I push something here. You can see this is where we use the thirds of our groups. They will work on the mega points. I could also include my Vipers if I wanted to, and when I push it now, it's going to do it for the Vipers and the mega points. And of course I could include the auras as well here, so now it's going to do it for all of them. So let's just say we use our mega points here. You can see you have your thirds here, then you have your toggle. It's going to toggle on its own, and you have a beat master attached, which you can tap the speed for what's going on here. Let's turn this on again, and then you have the odds and you have the evens, and that's all reacting to what's going on up here. If I chose a different color, let's say blue, every time I touch it now, it's going to go into blue instead of white. I can just go back to white here while it's running. We had the odds and we had the evens, and then we have some other flashing stuff here with all of it, and we do have same thing going on over here. So it's super simple to work with. You can see you have some delay stuff here. If you want to add some, let's say we want to add some delay of 1 second here maybe. If I push this one, it's going to delay it like this. And I think it's just going to go the other way on this one. And that's all automatic. Once again, you can replace this with another group, and it's going to do it for another fixture type. So that is brilliantly simple to use this start show. Let's say we do the same thing down here. We say at full, we say Gobo open, we say iris open. We want it to be small maybe if we updated our zoom palettes, and we want it to go up and we want it to be white. We can have the same thing going on down here. Now it's just turning into red because it's already red. It's not doing anything. Here you go. So you have 2 layers of fun stuff going on you can use while busking your way through an evening somewhere. And of course you have all your faders. If we go into the full here, you can update your faders with odds and evens and whatever you want to use. It's so simple to work with. So I encourage you to play with the MA Start Show. The MA Start Show is amazing, and you can be ready in, once you get to know it, I would say like 20 minutes, you are ready with a rig you haven't touched. The only thing you've done is patched it. You will be ready within 20 minutes to do some sort of show. So that's today's video, the MA Start Show. I think it's fantastic, and I encourage you, as I said, to play around with it. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Event Lighting channel. If you did, make sure to give it a like, because that helps it spread to more people on YouTube, and that way I get more views and I can help more people and all this stuff. So happy GrandMA3 programming at home with the MA3 Start Show, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.